I should never forget the sound of his breath against my skin. It was soft, hungry, and achingly familiar. His lips trailed across my neck while my body betrayed every vow I had ever made. The weight of his hands pressed me deeper into the sheets as if they belonged there, as if this was not a crime but destiny. My heart pounded so hard that I feared it would echo through the walls. And yet, while I was wrapped in the arms of a man who was not my husband, the man I had once loved before, the person who had given me his last name was sleeping soundly in the next room. The shame of it should have stopped me. But it did not. I gave in. I surrendered. I sinned in the worst way a wife could. Before I tell you how I ended up here, I want to take a quick moment to say something important. To all of you who have subscribed to this channel, thank you. Your support is the fuel that keeps me sharing stories as raw and real as this one. And to all new and returning viewers who are watching but have not yet subscribed, I cannot wait for you to hit that button. It powers this channel and means the world to me. Please remember to drop your thoughts in the comments immediately after this introduction because I want to know exactly how this story makes you feel. Now let me take you back to where it all began. My name is Rachel. I am 33 years old, married to a man named Mark. We live in a modest suburban neighborhood in Ohio. Mark is everything a good man should be. He is kind, loyal, hardworking, and above all else, faithful. He trusts me completely, almost too much. He is the kind of man who kisses my forehead before leaving for work and never forgets to send me a message during the day just to remind me that he loves me. On the outside, we were the picture-perfect couple. But deep inside me, there was a storm brewing that he could not see. And then came Adam. Adam was my ex-boyfriend. He was the man who had once stolen my youth and filled it with reckless passion. He was tall, rugged, and carried that untamed energy that always drew me to him. We had broken up years ago because he was unreliable, impulsive, and never ready to settle down. But that did not mean the fire had ever really gone out. When he reached out to me through social media, it felt like a spark reigniting dry wood. I told myself it was harmless. Just a message. Just a little conversation. But harmless words turned into late-night chats. And late-night chats turned into secret meetings. The night of my betrayal began with something so simple. Mark was exhausted from a 12-hour workday. He had come home, taken a shower, and collapsed into bed. His snores filled the house before midnight. I had told him earlier that I wanted to stay up and read. What I really meant was that Adam was waiting. Adam had driven into town to see me. The thought of him sitting in his car just a few blocks away sent a wave of excitement through my body that I had no business feeling. I told myself I would just see him for a moment. Maybe talk, maybe catch up. But I knew better. I knew what would happen the moment I laid eyes on him again. When he walked through the door, it was like being dragged into a dangerous dream. His cologne filled the room before his arms did. His kiss landed on me before I could even breathe a word. I should have pushed him away. I should have remembered the man lying just a few feet away. But my body betrayed me as much as my heart did. We ended up on the living room couch at first. Every second felt stolen, every touch forbidden, but that only made it more intoxicating. I whispered his name, trembling, terrified that Mark would hear me. Adam's hands slid across me like they had never forgotten a single curve. I hated how much I wanted it. I hated how natural it felt to let him have me again. But then, as if the walls themselves were taunting me, Mark stirred in the bedroom. The sound of him shifting in bed froze me in place. Adam looked at me, his lips curled in that reckless smile I had fallen for years ago, and whispered, "Relax. He is asleep." Those words burned through my ears like a dagger. I was betraying my husband in the cruelest way possible, not down the street, not in some hidden motel, but while he slept just a few steps away. I wish I could tell you that I stopped there. But I did not. The couch was too risky. Adam led me quietly down the hallway, past the door where Mark lay dreaming, into the guest bedroom. My knees almost gave way as I walked past the man who trusted me most in this world. The guilt was suffocating, but the pull of Adam was stronger. In that guest bed, I gave myself to him completely, while the man who had promised me forever rested only a wall away. Every creak of the mattress sounded like thunder. Every moan I tried to swallow felt like a scream. I wanted it to end, and yet I never wanted it to. My heart was tearing itself in two, and I knew in that moment that I was crossing a line I could never step back over. When it was over, Adam left quietly. No words of love, no promises of a future. Just a lingering kiss that tasted like regret and fire at the same time. I lay in that bed shaking, my body drenched in sweat, my mind drowning in guilt. I wanted to erase it, to rewind the night, but the sin was carved too deep. I returned to my marital bed, sliding under the covers next to Mark. He stirred slightly and pulled me close, pressing his chest against my back. His arms wrapped around me in pure, untainted love. My stomach turned, my eyes burned with tears, but I did not let him see. He kissed my shoulder and fell back into sleep. I lay awake, staring into the dark, knowing that everything had just changed. That night, while my husband slept peacefully, I had shattered our marriage. And that was only the beginning. The morning after was brutal. The sunlight felt sharper, the air heavier, and every movement of Mark beside me became unbearable. I woke up before him, lying stiff in bed, staring at the ceiling as my mind replayed the night in a cruel loop. The memory of Adam's hands on me mixed with the sight of my husband's peaceful face only inches away. I had given my body to one man while my heart belonged to another. It was a betrayal so deep that even my bones ached with guilt. Mark stirred and rubbed his eyes before smiling at me. That smile had always been my safe place, but now it felt like a dagger. He leaned in, kissed my forehead, and whispered, "Good morning, beautiful." His voice was warm, unknowing, full of love. I forced myself to smile back, though my lips trembled. "Good morning," I replied, my voice breaking in a way I hoped he did not notice. We sat at the kitchen table while he sipped coffee and read the news on his phone. I could barely touch my food. My stomach twisted with guilt, and every sip of water felt like I was trying to wash away my sins. Mark looked up at me and asked if I was feeling all right. I lied and told him I was just tired. He accepted my answer without question, because he trusted me. That trust felt heavier than chains around my neck. When Mark left for work, I collapsed against the counter, holding back tears. My phone buzzed, and I knew who it was before I even looked. Adam. His message was simple: "Last night. I cannot stop thinking about you." My hand shook. Reading those words ignited both dread and desire in me. I should have deleted the message. I should have blocked him. But I typed back, "Me too." That was all it took for the cycle to begin again. Days turned into weeks. My marriage remained steady on the outside, but inside me, chaos reigned. Adam texted me constantly, late at night when Mark was asleep, in the middle of the day when Mark was at work, sometimes even when I was sitting across the table from my husband. Each message felt like a spark to dry wood, setting me aflame with temptation. I hated myself for it, but I could not stop. Adam's hold on me was dangerous. He reminded me of the wild, reckless girl I used to be before marriage tamed me. He knew the words to say, the buttons to press. And every time we met in secret, I felt myself pulled deeper into a darkness I knew would eventually destroy me. But guilt never left me. It followed me like a shadow. Every kiss from Mark burned me with shame. Every hug felt undeserved. He would wrap his arms around me at night and tell me how lucky he was to have me, and all I could think about was how I had destroyed him without his knowledge. The tension grew unbearable. One evening, I was cooking dinner when Mark walked in earlier than expected. My phone was on the counter, screen lit up with Adam's name flashing across a message. My heart stopped. I rushed to grab it, nearly knocking over the cutting board. Mark frowned, noticing my panic, but I quickly forced a smile and said I was trying not to burn the food. He laughed and let it go, but I could feel his eyes on me longer than usual. That night, as we sat on the couch watching television, I caught him studying me. He asked me if everything was okay. I answered too quickly, nodding, forcing a laugh. He kissed my cheek, but I could sense the beginning of doubt. For the first time, I realized he could feel me slipping away. My guilt became unbearable, but Adam's pull did not loosen. The secrecy, the danger, the raw passion, it was addictive. We met again, this time in a hotel just outside town. I remember the way Adam looked at me across the bed and said, "You are mine, Rachel. You always have been." His words terrified me because part of me wanted to believe them. But then came the twist I had feared most. One Saturday morning, Mark was cleaning out the laundry room when he found something I had been too careless to hide. It was a hotel receipt, tucked into the pocket of my jeans. My heart stopped when I saw him walk into the living room holding the slip of paper. "Rachel," he said, his voice calm but heavy, "what is this?" The receipt was for a single night at a hotel I had never mentioned. His eyes searched mine for an answer, but my throat closed up. I tried to speak, but no sound came out. "I thought maybe you went there with a friend," he continued, his voice trembling, "but you never told me." I stammered something about meeting a girlfriend, but the lie sounded weak, even to me. Mark's jaw tightened. He did not press further, but I could see it in his eyes. Suspicion. Doubt. Fear. The foundation of trust he had built around us was cracking. That night, I lay awake in bed while he pretended to sleep. His body was turned away from me, stiff, cold. I wanted to reach for him, to confess everything, but the words choked me. How could I admit that I had betrayed him while he was sleeping peacefully in the next room? How could I look into his eyes and destroy the man who loved me more than anyone ever had? But deep inside, I knew it was only a matter of time. The secrets I carried were too heavy. The guilt was eating me alive. And Mark was not a fool. He would uncover the truth. The question was not if. It was when. The silence between Mark and me grew thicker with every passing day. He no longer looked at me the same way, and I could no longer look at him at all. Every time he reached for my hand, I pulled back without meaning to. Every time he smiled, guilt twisted in my stomach like a knife. The hotel receipt had planted a seed of doubt in his mind, and I knew that seed was growing into something far more dangerous. Adam's messages did not stop. If anything, they became bolder. He teased me about the risk, reminded me of our nights together, and taunted me with the idea that Mark could never satisfy me the way he did. His words intoxicated me and repulsed me all at once. Sometimes I would throw my phone across the bed after reading his texts, swearing I would end it. But then I would pick it back up, my hands shaking, my heart racing, and reply anyway. It was a double life, and the walls were closing in. One evening, Mark came home earlier than usual. I was on the couch, phone in my hand, Adam's name glowing on the screen. I scrambled to hide it, but it was too late. Mark's eyes caught it. His face hardened, and he stood there in the doorway, his body tense, his breathing slow and deliberate. "Who is Adam?" His voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of thunder. My blood ran cold. I tried to lie, but my lips quivered. "He is just an old friend." Mark stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. "An old friend who texts you at all hours of the night? An old friend who makes you flinch when I walk into the room? Rachel, do not lie to me." Tears welled in my eyes, but the truth would not stay buried any longer. My chest heaved, my throat tightened, and before I could stop myself, the words tumbled out. "I cheated, Mark. I cheated with him." The silence that followed shattered me more than any scream ever could. Mark stared at me as if I were a stranger. His jaw clenched, his fists tightened, but his eyes broke. They filled with tears that he refused to let fall, and that pain cut through me sharper than my guilt ever had. "You," he whispered, his voice cracking, "while I was in this house? While I was asleep in the next room?" I covered my face with my hands, sobbing, unable to answer. My silence was his confirmation. Mark paced the room, his hands dragging through his hair. "I loved you. I gave you everything. And you destroyed me under my own roof." His voice grew louder with every word, his hurt erupting like a volcano. How could you, Rachel? How could you? I begged him to listen, to let me explain, but the truth was that there was no explanation. No excuse. I had chosen passion over loyalty. I had chosen a ghost from my past over the man who had built a future with me. Mark stopped pacing and looked me in the eyes one last time. His voice was low, final. Pack your things. My knees buckled. Please, no. Do not throw us away. He shook his head. You already did. The night you let him touch you while I was asleep, you ended this marriage. There is no forgiveness for that. Not from me. I begged, I wept, I promised to change, but his resolve did not waver. That night, I packed my bags under the same roof where we had once dreamed of forever. I carried my clothes through the hallway I had walked down with Adam, past the door of the guest room where my betrayal had taken root. Every step was a reminder of what I had destroyed. Mark did not yell again. He did not curse me. His silence was worse. He stood at the doorway, arms crossed, tears finally streaming down his face as he watched me leave. The man who had loved me more than anyone ever had was letting me go, not because he wanted to, but because I had given him no choice. Outside, the night air was cold against my skin. My bags felt heavier than stone. I climbed into my car and drove away, glancing once into the rearview mirror. Mark was still standing there, framed by the doorway, his figure growing smaller until it disappeared completely. That image will haunt me forever. Adam called me that night. He asked if I was free now, if I was ready to finally be his. His voice dripped with arrogance, as if my marriage falling apart was some kind of victory for him. But as I sat there alone in a cheap motel room, surrounded by the stench of betrayal and regret, I realized the ugliest truth of all: I had ruined my marriage for a man who never really wanted me. He wanted the thrill, the conquest, the forbidden taste of what was not his. Now that I was free, I no longer interested him in the same way. I had lost everything. The days that followed were empty. The bed felt too large, the silence too loud. I replayed Mark's face in my mind over and over, the hurt, the disbelief, the finality. There would be no forgiveness, no second chance. My betrayal had killed our love in the cruelest way possible. I destroyed forever for one night of flesh. And that is the truth I will carry with me for the rest of my life.